There comes a moment in every life, maybe it's today, maybe it was yesterday, or maybe it's coming tomorrow, when someone tries you, not just test your patience, but test your heart, your dignity, your faith. And in that moment, it's like the world stops. You hear their words, you see their actions, and your soul feels it deep, shakes you. Not because you're weak, but because you're human, because you care, because you love deeply, believe purely, and trust honestly. But here's the truth. Not everyone comes into your life to build you. Some come to break you. Some show up to see if your foundation will crack under pressure, if you'll bend, if you'll fall. But let me tell you something right now. You were not made to break. You were not made to crumble in the face of betrayal, in the face of disrespect or rejection. You are built of something stronger than steel and deeper than stone. You carry purpose in your bones, and God doesn't create anything halfway. So when people test you, when they provoke your peace, don't fall apart, rise, because that test is not meant to destroy you. It's meant to reveal the strength you didn't even know you had. When you wake up in the morning, before the world speaks, before your phone starts ringing and the demands start shouting, you have a moment, pure and silent. That moment right there is your peace. It's the stillness that keeps your spirit whole. But most people don't protect that. They let the noise in too early. They scroll through negativity. They absorb criticism. They invite energy that was never meant to sit at their table. And the truth is, your peace isn't just important, it's sacred. It's the very core of your strength, the place where clarity is born and your decisions are shaped. When you let people disturb that, when you hand them the key to your calm, you lose your center. You start reacting, not responding. You start defending instead of standing. You lose the ability to hear yourself think, to feel what's real, and to move with intention. That's why you've got to treat your inner peace like a holy place, like a garden only you can enter. No matter how close someone is to you, if they bring confusion, if they plant doubt, if they push you into chaos, then you need to choose your peace over their presence. Every time. It doesn't matter how much history you've got with a person, how long they've been in your life, or what title they hold. If someone constantly pulls you into battles you never asked to fight, if they provoke your spirit, make you feel like you have to prove yourself or drain your emotional energy, you need to pause. You need to recognize the cost. Because every time you allow someone to disturb your peace, you delay your growth. You get caught up in arguments that don't matter, in people who won't change, and in situations that only distract you from your purpose. You weren't born to entertain dysfunction. You weren't created to carry the weight of everyone else's expectations. Your peace is not selfish. It's essential. It's the oxygen for your purpose. And when you're suffocating in someone else's storm, you can't breathe in your own truth. That's why protecting your peace is not about cutting people off with bitterness. It's about choosing yourself with wisdom. It's about saying, I love you, but I love me enough to walk away from anything that disturbs my spirit. Every time you get into a cycle of defending your peace instead of preserving it, you lose pieces of yourself. And the sad thing is most people don't even notice it happening. It's little things. You find yourself anxious around certain people, constantly anticipating drama, overthinking your words, feeling like you have to walk on eggshells just to keep the peace. But real peace doesn't require that kind of sacrifice. Real peace feels like exhaling after holding your breath for too long. It feels like showing up fully as yourself without apology. And the only way to keep that kind of peace is to stop compromising it for people who never value it. Stop giving energy to arguments that don't deserve your words. Stop letting people who are lost try to tell you how to find yourself. Because peace isn't passive, it's active. It's a choice you make every single day to protect your heart, your mind, your spirit. And when you make that choice consistently, you'll find your life gets quieter, but richer, less crowded, but more meaningful. People who don't have peace in their own life will try to steal yours, not always intentionally, but because misery is magnetic. Chaos loves company. And if you're not careful, you'll get pulled into their emotional roller coasters, their crises, their self-made storms. They'll make you feel responsible for fixing what they refuse to face, and you'll be so busy putting out fires that you forget you're the one carrying the water. That's why emotional boundaries are crucial. You have to recognize when something is not yours to carry. You have to learn how to say, that's not my burden, because peace requires distance. Sometimes it requires silence. Sometimes it means loving people from afar and praying for them without engaging with them. Your peace is not a community project. It's your sacred space. It's where you think clearly, love purely, and hear from God without distortion. And the more you protect it, the more you'll realize how precious it is. Because when your mind is calm, your soul can speak. And when your soul speaks, your life follows. There will be people who mock your peace, who think you're weak because you don't engage in drama, who think you're cold because you don't react. But peace doesn't need to shout to be powerful. It doesn't need to prove itself to be present. There is nothing stronger than someone who can stay grounded when the world around them is shaking. That's what true power looks like. Not loud, but unshakable. When people test your patience, when they poke at your triggers, when they try to pull you into their negativity, your refusal to step down into chaos is a statement. It's a declaration that you are no longer available for emotional warfare, that you've graduated from needing to be understood by people who refuse to understand themselves, that you value your health, your spirit, your mental clarity more than you value being right or being liked. And that's not arrogance. That's maturity. That's healing. That's wisdom earned through pain. You don't have to prove your peace. You just have to live it. We live in a world where overstimulation is constant. Social media, news cycles, opinions flying from every direction. It's easy to lose your peace if you don't protect it with intention. You've got to create spaces that replenish your spirit. Mornings with silence, evenings with gratitude. Time alone that isn't lonely but healing. You have to unplug from everything that pulls you away from yourself. You can't be strong if you're always plugged into what weakens you. And you can't expect to have clarity if your mind is always cluttered. Peace thrives in simplicity. It grows in quiet places. And if your life is always loud, always full, always reactive, you're going to burn out. You're going to forget what it feels like to be still. So slow down. Turn the volume down on the world and tune into your soul. Listen to what your body is telling you, what your spirit is whispering, what your energy is requesting. Peace isn't just a mood, it's alignment. And once you've felt it, once you've tasted what it's like to be unbothered, centered, whole, you won't trade that for anything or anyone. You don't have to apologize for protecting your peace. You don't have to feel guilty for walking away from conversations that leave you feeling drained. You don't owe anyone your silence just to keep their comfort. Peace often requires hard choices. It means choosing to keep quiet when your ego wants to clap back. It means ending relationships that are familiar but toxic. It means letting go of habits that once gave you comfort but now rob you of growth. Protecting your peace sometimes looks like being misunderstood, but let them misunderstand you. Let them think what they want. You're not living for their understanding. You're living for your own well-being. You're choosing a life that doesn't revolve around constant conflict, chaos, or codependency. And that's a powerful choice, because once you realize you can have peace without permission, you stop waiting for people to change before you start protecting your own heart. In the end, protecting your peace is not about building walls. It's about building strength. It's not about avoiding conflict, but choosing what battles are worth your energy. It's about realizing that not everyone deserves access to your time, your thoughts, or your emotions. It's recognizing that your mental and spiritual health are worth more than someone else's comfort. You have a life to live, a purpose to fulfill, a destiny to protect. And you can't afford to let your soul be shaken every time someone shows up with noise. You're not who you were when you used to react to everything. You've grown, you've healed. And now you understand that peace is not passive, it's powerful. It's not soft, it's sacred. And the more you honor it, the more your life will reflect it. So keep protecting that inner peace like your life depends on it, because it does. You don't owe anyone chaos just because they're used to it. You owe yourself peace because you've earned it. And you're worthy of it. When something happens that shakes you, when someone disrespects you, disappoints you, or throws their negativity your way, there's a split second, a pause, a space between what happened and what you choose to do next. And in that space lies all your power. That space is where your peace lives. That space is where your purpose is tested. Most people don't recognize that moment. They jump straight into reaction mode. They speak without thinking. They act out of anger. They mirror the chaos thrown at them. But what if you didn't? What if you refused to be baited into emotional battles? What if you learned to respond, not from impulse, but from clarity? See, reacting is easy. It's automatic. It's emotional. It's the knee-jerk response that feels good for a moment, but usually leaves damage behind. But responding takes strength. It takes emotional discipline. It takes stepping back, breathing deep, and asking yourself, what outcome do I want from this? Because when you react, you give control to the person or situation. But when you respond, you stay in charge. You hold your power. And that's what makes you unshakable. Not how loud you can get, but how calm you can stay in the fire. There is a difference between responding to life and being controlled by it. A response is rooted in wisdom, but a reaction is born from wounds. When someone triggers you, they're poking a place that's already tender. That's why a reaction feels so intense. Because it isn't just about that one moment. It's about all the moments you never healed from. But when you take the time to do the inner work, when you begin to heal those wounds, you gain the power to choose your response instead of defaulting to pain. You stop lashing out. You stop defending every word. You stop letting people pull you into their storms. And instead you become the calm. You become the stillness that doesn't waver even when the wind is wild. That doesn't mean you're emotionless. It doesn't mean you let people walk over you. It means you pick your battles with purpose. It means you value your energy so deeply that you refuse to spend it on chaos. You don't prove yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You don't chase validation. You stand in truth. You respond in power, and that changes everything. Every time you respond instead of react, you're creating a new path. You're teaching your nervous system that it's safe to pause. You're telling your mind that not everything deserves your attention. You're showing your spirit that it's strong enough to rise above the noise. And in a world that pushes instant gratification, where everyone's quick to clap back, to cancel, to curse, choosing to be intentional is revolutionary. People might not understand it. They'll ask why you didn't say something back, why you let it go, why you kept your cool. But you'll know. You'll know that your peace is worth more than your pride. You'll know that not every attack requires a defense. You'll know that silence isn't weakness, it's strategy, it's wisdom. Because sometimes the most powerful response is no response. Not because you're avoiding conflict, but because you're choosing clarity. You're choosing growth. And most of all, you're choosing yourself. Reaction is what they expect. Response is what they'll never be ready for. Because it's not about proving anything. It's about protecting everything that keeps you grounded, focused, and free. When you live your life in reaction, you're constantly on edge. You're always waiting for the next hit, the next insult, the next disappointment. And in that state, you become emotionally exhausted. You become controlled by the outside world. Your mood depending on what others do or say. That's not freedom. That's slavery to the emotions of others. But when you begin to respond instead of react, you reclaim your power. You stop letting other people's behavior dictate your day. You become the thermostat, not the thermometer. You set the emotional temperature. You don't rise or fall based on what others do. You stay consistent, focused, aligned. And that makes you unshakable. That makes you dangerous to negativity because they can't control you. They can't predict you. They can't manipulate you. You're no longer triggered. You're trained. You've trained yourself to breathe, to reflect, to remember your purpose. And that kind of discipline, that's rare. That's powerful. That's what separates people who grow from people who stay stuck. Because reaction keeps you in cycles, but response breaks chains. It builds bridges. It moves you forward with intention. It's not about being passive. It's about being powerful with your presence. You can respond with strength. You can set boundaries. You can speak truth without raising your voice. You can remove yourself from toxic situations without explaining your every move. That's what maturity looks like. You stop performing for people. You stop matching energy. You start maintaining your own. You learn that the most important question isn't how do I make them see my side, but how do I protect my peace while standing in truth? You stop getting lost in the noise. You start walking with a quiet confidence that doesn't need approval. And when you live like that, you'll see people react to your calm in two ways. They'll either rise with you or try to shake you. But neither gets to decide who you are, because your identity isn't found in what happens to you. It's found in how you choose to respond. Life will always test you. People will always try you. But your power lies in that sacred pause, that intentional breath, that decision to act from purpose, not pain. There will be moments when everything inside you wants to react, when anger boils, when pride rises, when your heart feels cornered. But in those moments, ask yourself, who am I becoming? Because every response builds character. Every time you choose restraint, you build a deeper strength. Every time you choose silence over shouting, wisdom over ego, grace over war, you become more of who you're meant to be. Reaction is often about ego, but response, that's about legacy. That's about choosing to build a life that's not just successful, but peaceful. A life that reflects discipline, not dysfunction. You weren't made to be controlled by what happens around you. You were made to walk with purpose through every storm. And that doesn't mean you never feel anger or frustration. It means you feel it, process it, and then choose to respond with intent, because responding isn't pretending something didn't hurt. It's choosing not to let the hurt control you. It's looking pain in the face and saying, you will not write my script. I will. When you master your response, you master your future, because your reactions today create your reality tomorrow. And that's what most people don't realize. Life isn't about what happens to you. It's about what you do with it. It's about what you allow to shape you, what you choose to carry, what you let go. And when you choose to respond with purpose, you're no longer driven by triggers. You're driven by truth. You're not ruled by rage. You're ruled by vision. That kind of living is intentional. It requires mindfulness. It requires awareness, but it gives back peace, strength, clarity, and direction. You begin to trust yourself. You stop regretting your words. You start speaking life instead of fueling destruction. And that shift, that inner shift, changes the outer world around you. People see the difference. They feel it. Because real power isn't proven through aggression. It's revealed in calm confidence. So the next time life tests you, pause, breathe. Remember who you are. Remember what you're building, and choose to respond not just for today, but for the future you're creating. In a world that's loud, impulsive, and emotionally reactive, you have the rare opportunity to be something different. To be someone who leads with grace, who responds with wisdom, who protects their peace while still standing strong. That kind of life isn't built overnight. It's built choice by choice, moment by moment. Every time you refuse to take the bait, every time you walk away from a battle that's beneath your purpose, every time you choose presence over provocation, that's how you become unshakable. That's how you become the person who doesn't just survive storms, but leads others through them. So don't react, respond. Not because you're weak, but because you're powerful beyond words. You've seen what reaction gets you. You've lived that life. Now it's time for something deeper, something stronger, something that builds, not breaks, that heals, not harms. And that kind of power, that's the kind that lasts. There will come a time when people will stop clapping for you. They'll stop noticing your effort, your growth, your progress. The very ones who once admired your light may start to ignore it. And when that moment arrives, you will feel something deep inside you shift. Doubt will whisper that maybe you're not as strong as you thought. Maybe you've lost your touch. Maybe they were right to walk away or to dismiss you. You'll write a silly letter to your mom. You'll read into it. But that's when you must reach inside yourself and remember who you are. Not who they told you to be, not who they expect you to be, but who you've always been. Underneath it all, the fight in your soul, the resilience in your heart, the purpose that beats louder than applause. It's easy to feel worthy when you're praised, but your real strength shows when the room goes quiet and you still choose to stand tall, because your identity was never meant to be handed to you by someone else. It was carved from your trials, from your triumphs, from everything you've walked through and survived. So when they forget your worth, your value, your story, don't you dare forget it. You were chosen for this life. Act like it. Sometimes people forget your heart because they only see your mistakes. They forget your journey because they only judge the chapter they walked in on. They forget your dreams because they're too distracted by your delays. And in that forgetting, they try to shrink you, make you feel like you're only as good as your last win, your last moment of glory. But you're not a highlight reel. You're a whole human being with depth, with scars, with power that's often invisible. When the world forgets your name, your value, your goodness, you have to remind yourself with every breath that you still matter. That what's planted in you can't be uprooted by the ignorance or forgetfulness of others. Their memory of you may fade, but your truth remains. So let them forget. Let them misjudge. Let them speak from their own limitations. Your story isn't written by their pens. And your worth isn't something that fluctuates based on how they feel about you this week. It's steady, it's divine, it's eternal. Keep showing up for yourself, not for applause, but for alignment. Not to prove them wrong, but to prove to yourself that you are still everything you've ever been. And more, when people turn their backs on you, they aren't revealing something about you, they're revealing something about themselves. You may have poured into them, loved them, celebrated them, but the moment you stumbled, they disappeared. That says more about the condition of their loyalty than the content of your character. But that's okay, because every person who leaves makes room for someone who sees you more clearly. Every time someone forgets who you are, it becomes your chance to remember even more fiercely. You see, the danger isn't in them forgetting. It's in you believing they're right. That's when you begin to shrink, to hide, to quiet the voice that once roared with faith and vision. But you weren't made to dim. You weren't made to be watered down for anyone's comfort. You were made to shine even when they close their eyes, especially when they close their eyes. Because your light isn't just for them, it's for you too. It's your reminder that you're still alive, still here, still rising. So if they forget, let them. If they doubt, so be it. But never, ever join them in forgetting who you are. That's your sacred duty, to never abandon yourself. You've come too far to start questioning yourself now. You've survived too much, healed through too many silent nights, fought through too many unseen battles to let someone's limited perception rewrite your truth. People will label you based on the version of you they met, not realizing you've outgrown that version 10 times over. They'll speak to your past while you're already walking in your future. Don't get stuck trying to convince them. Don't waste your breath defending your evolution. Instead, invest your energy in becoming even more. Every time you remember who you are, you break the chains of their forgetfulness. Every time you choose your voice, your vision, your value, you step deeper into your purpose. And no one, not their silence, not their absence, not their criticism, can take that away from you. You're not asking for permission to be great. You're reclaiming a birthright, a fire that's been burning in you since before they even knew your name. So stop shrinking, stop apologizing, stop needing them to see what God already confirmed. Walk in that knowing, live in that certainty. And when the noise fades and the dust settles, they'll remember after all, but by then you'll be too far ahead to care. There's something powerful about a person who remembers who they are when no one is watching. When there's no spotlight, no celebration, no validation, just them and their reflection. That's when the truth shows up. That's when you find out if your confidence is rooted in applause or in purpose. Because people are inconsistent. They love you one day, forget you the next. They celebrate your wins, but disappear during your losses. If your identity is tied to their memory of you, you'll be on an emotional roller coaster every day of your life. But when your identity is anchored in who you know you are, when it's grounded in truth, not opinion, you become steady, unshakable. You stop chasing recognition and start radiating presence. You stop trying to be seen and start choosing to show up. Whether they remember your name or not, you carry the weight of your destiny like royalty. And that inner knowing, that self-awareness, that's your power. Because once you stop waiting for others to remember your worth, you start walking in it for yourself. And suddenly, you don't need reminders. You become the reminder. A living example of resilience, self-love, and purpose that no one can forget. Life has a way of putting you in rooms where people don't know your story, don't respect your presence, and don't value your perspective. And that can hurt. Especially when your heart is full of love and your intentions are pure. But that's when your memory has to stretch. You have to remind yourself of the promises you made to yourself, the dreams that keep you up at night, the battles you've won in silence, because those rooms are tests. They're not meant to define you, they're meant to refine you. And every time you choose to show up as your full self in the face of disregard, you pass those tests with grace. People will forget your goodness because they were never looking for it. They'll overlook your strength because they're intimidated by it. But that's not your burden to carry. You don't need to be seen to be significant. You don't need to be praised to be powerful. You just need to remember that everything you are has been shaped by everything you've overcome. And if the world forgets you today, it doesn't erase what you carry. Keep walking, keep believing, keep remembering, because you were never ordinary to begin with. There's a reason the world tries to distract you, confuse you, pull you away from your center. It's because someone who knows who they are is impossible to control. When you remember who you are, you stop entertaining drama. You stop tolerating half-hearted love. You stop lowering your standards just to keep people close. You start setting boundaries that protect your peace. You start saying no without guilt. You start choosing alignment over approval. That kind of power is rare, and it's often misunderstood. People will accuse you of being cold, arrogant, distant. But what they don't realize is you've just stopped begging to be remembered by people who never saw you clearly in the first place. And once you've tasted that kind of self-respect, you never go back. You start moving differently, speaking differently, living differently. Because when you remember who you are, you no longer ask for a seat at the table. You build your own. You stop waiting to be chosen. You choose yourself. And that shift, that's when everything changes. That's when the world starts to respond to you in a new way, not because you demanded it, but because you remembered who you were long after they forgot. And sometimes the forgetting isn't loud. Sometimes it's silent. People just stop checking in, stop supporting, stop showing up. It's in those quiet rejections that you feel the weight of being unseen. But don't let their silence you. Don't let their forgetfulness erase the value of what you bring to the world. The truth is, you remembering yourself is enough. You knowing your worth is enough. You believing in your calling, your purpose, your journey, that's enough. Because the day you stop needing external confirmation is the day you become unstoppable. The world might not always clap, friends might change, seasons may shift, but your soul, your calling, that remains. Let that be your focus. Let that be the anchor when things feel unstable, because people will come and go, but who you are at your core was never up for debate. So when the applause dies down, when the phone goes silent, when the room empties out, stand in that moment and say, I still see me. And that right there is power. That right there is truth. That is the kind of strength no one can give you and no one can take away. Pain is a teacher nobody asked for, yet it's the one that leaves the deepest lessons. When it shows up, it doesn't knock politely, it storms in and turns your world upside down. And in those moments, it feels like everything you knew is breaking apart, like the ground under your feet has vanished. You start to question everything, your strength, your purpose, your identity. But what if pain isn't there to destroy you? What if it's showing up to shape you, to chisel you into something greater, something deeper than you've ever been? The fire hurts, yes, but it also purifies. The weight feels unbearable, yes, but it's building strength. You weren't made to collapse every time life strikes. You were made to bend, to shift, to adjust, and then to rise again. That ache in your chest, don't run from it. Don't numb it. Let it teach you. Let it grow you. Let it transform you into a version of yourself that's wiser, kinder, more unshakable. Because if pain can break you, it can also build you. The choice isn't about avoiding it. It's about how you respond when it comes. There are moments when the pain feels like it will never end. When the nights are long and the silence screams louder than any words. You start to wonder if healing is even possible, or if you'll be stuck in this emotional fog forever. But the truth is, healing isn't a straight road. It's messy, it's ugly, it's full of relapses and reminders. And that's okay. You're allowed to feel it all. You're allowed to cry, to scream, to fall apart. But what you're not allowed to do is give up on yourself. You weren't meant to be shattered by what hurt you. You were meant to be shaped by it. Because every tear you shed carries wisdom. Every heartbreak holds a lesson. And if you allow yourself to walk through the fire without losing your heart, you'll come out of it not just alive, but alive with purpose. The same pain that tried to bury you can become the soil from which your strength grows. The same storm that tried to drown you can teach you how to breathe under pressure. You have that power inside you to turn wounds into wisdom, trials into triumphs. Let the pain be your catalyst, not your cage. Sometimes the people closest to you will be the ones who hurt you the most. They'll leave scars on your soul, not just your skin. And when that happens, it can feel like betrayal is a weight you'll never shake off. But here's the hard truth. Pain doesn't always come to punish. Sometimes it comes to reveal, to show you who they truly are and to remind you who you truly are. You can't control how others treat you, but you can control what you do with the aftermath. You can let it harden you, or you can let it strengthen your boundaries. You can let it close your heart, or you can let it teach you how to protect it with more wisdom next time. You are not what happened to you. You are what you become after it. So when the pain comes from betrayal, let it shape you into someone who sees clearly, loves intentionally, and walks wisely. Don't let it turn you cold. Let it turn you conscious. Don't let it break your spirit. Let it break the illusions that kept you tied to people who were never meant to stay. In the pain, there's clarity. And in clarity, there's power. There will be seasons when you feel like the pain is all you have left, like joy is a distant memory and hope is just a word you no longer believe in. But even in those seasons, something sacred is happening within you. Every day you choose to keep going, even when your heart is heavy and your mind is tired, you are rebuilding yourself from the inside out. That's not weakness. That's resilience. That's you shaping yourself, moment by moment, thought by thought, into someone who knows how to carry pain without letting it define them. You may not feel strong while you're in it, but survival is strength. Breathing through the ache is strength. Refusing to let the darkness win, that is strength. And you don't owe anyone an explanation for the way you heal. Some days you'll feel like you're making progress, other days like you're falling apart. Both are okay, because healing isn't linear and transformation isn't always visible. Just because the world can't see your growth doesn't mean it's not happening. Let the pain do its work, not by crushing you, but by uncovering the power that's been buried beneath your wounds all along. Pain has a way of introducing you to yourself in ways comfort never could. When everything is going well, we rarely stop to reflect deeply. But when pain hits, real gut-wrenching pain, it strips away the noise. It silences the distractions and forces you to confront the truth about who you are, what you value, and what you're made of. You learn things in pain that you couldn't learn in peace. You find out how strong your spirit is. You discover the depth of your endurance, the reach of your faith, the weight of your will. And it's in those dark moments when you think you can't take another step that your soul begins to whisper, yes, you can. That whisper is your fire. That whisper is your reminder. And though it may feel like you're breaking, what's really happening is a shedding. A removal of what no longer serves you so something greater can take its place. Let it shape you into someone with deeper empathy, greater patience, and a quieter but more determined strength. Let it show you that your pain is not the end of you, it's the making of you. And in time, that shape will fit a future far bigger than the hurt that tried to stop you. There's a point in your journey when you have to stop asking why the pain came and start asking what it came to teach. Because if all you do is replay the suffering, you'll stay stuck in the past. But if you lean into the lesson, you'll find freedom. Pain doesn't come into your life to keep you down. It comes to wake you up, to shake you out of patterns, people, and perspectives that no longer serve your higher good. You weren't meant to be stuck. You weren't meant to live in fear. You were meant to evolve. And sometimes pain is the only thing strong enough to push you out of your comfort zone. So ask the hard questions. What did this loss teach me about letting go? What did this betrayal teach me about trusting wisely? What did this disappointment teach me about expectation and detachment? Every answer you uncover becomes a brick in the foundation of your growth. Don't rush through the pain. Sit with it. Learn from it. Let it mold you into someone more intentional, more grounded, more whole. Because when pain becomes your teacher, your wisdom becomes your armor. And there's nothing more powerful than a soul that has turned pain into purpose. You are not fragile just because you've been broken. In fact, it's the breaking that proves your strength. To be cracked open by life and still choose to love, to trust, to try again, that's power. That's courage. The world may see your wounds and misunderstand them as weakness, but only you know the battles you fought just to stand where you are. Let that be enough. Stop waiting for the validation of others to affirm your growth. The way you've held yourself together in silence, the way you've kept showing up when no one else saw, that's strength they'll never understand. You don't need a perfect story to have a powerful one. You just need honesty, growth, and the willingness to let every painful moment make you better, not bitter. You may not be who you once were, and that's a good thing. You've been reshaped, redefined, refined by the very fire that tried to consume you. And now, you carry something unbreakable within you, a wisdom that only pain could give. Don't be ashamed of your scars. They are not evidence of your failure. They are proof that you healed, that you endured, and that you chose to live despite it all. When you finally look back at the pain and realize it didn't ruin you, something shifts. You start to recognize the strength it built, the wisdom it gave, the version of you it unlocked. Pain becomes less of a burden and more of a badge, not one of shame, but of transformation. Because you didn't just survive what tried to destroy you, you grew from it. And now, when life throws storms your way, you don't panic the same way. You've been through the fire. You know your own resilience. You trust your ability to rebuild. That's what shape pain gives you. Perspective, a deep knowing that no matter what life takes, it can't take the essence of who you are. That's yours, untouchable, eternal. And while the journey through pain is one you wouldn't wish on anyone, the person it forged within you is someone you wouldn't trade for anything. You've become the evidence that pain doesn't have to break a person. It can build them into someone who walks with deeper empathy, stronger faith, and greater clarity. So walk forward. Not because you've forgotten the pain, but because you finally allowed it to shape you into who you were always meant to be. When you start walking in your purpose, the noise will get louder. People will question your choices, your pace, your dreams. They'll throw opinions at you like confetti, expecting you to catch everyone and shape yourself around it. But that's not your assignment. Your purpose didn't come from them. It came from within you. It was placed inside you before the world even had a name for you. And if you let the weight of their opinions pull you off track, you'll find yourself living a life that looks good to everyone else but feels empty to you. The truth is, not everyone is meant to understand your calling. It wasn't a conference call. It was a personal whisper to your soul. Stay aligned with that. Stay close to that still voice that guides you forward, even when nobody else claps, because when you betray your purpose for approval, you lose both. The ones who criticize you aren't carrying your dreams. They're not bearing your burdens. They're not sacrificing your sleep. So don't hand them the pen and let them write your story. Their opinion is noise. Your purpose is your compass. Let that be what drives you. Let that be what defines you. It's a hard truth to swallow, but not everyone who walks with you wants to see you rise. Some smile in your face and secretly hope you stumble. Some offer advice not to help you grow, but to keep you small. That's why staying aligned with your purpose is not a one-time decision. It's a daily commitment. Every morning you wake up, you have to choose to trust that inner voice more than the voices around you. You have to remember why you started, what you're building, and who you're becoming. And you can't let someone's temporary opinion make you abandon your permanent calling. Because the moment you start shrinking to make others comfortable, you've already started betraying your destiny. People will always have something to say. Let them. You weren't created to be understood. You were created to be impactful. And impact doesn't come from blending in. It comes from standing firm, even when it's uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable. If they don't get you, let them misunderstand you. If they don't support you, let them watch you anyway. Because at the end of the day, the only thing that will matter is if you fulfilled what was placed inside your heart, not what others thought you should have done. Sometimes the opinions that hit the hardest come from the people we love most. Parents, partners, friends. They mean well, but their vision of your life isn't always aligned with your calling. And that's okay. Love them, respect them, but don't surrender your soul to their expectations. Your journey is not a group project. You weren't born to live someone else's version of success. You were born to walk your path, to answer your call, to live your truth. And sometimes that means disappointing people who thought they knew what was best for you. That's not rebellion. That's growth. You can't serve two masters, purpose and approval. One will have you climbing mountains. The other will keep you begging for validation. Choose wisely. You don't need their permission to follow your passion. You don't need their applause to stay motivated. All you need is clarity, courage, and consistency. Purpose will test your resolve. It'll demand you be honest, even when it's uncomfortable. But that's how you build something lasting. That's how you create a life that feels full, not just looks full. So even when their voices are loud, let your conviction be louder. Follow the fire inside you. The world is obsessed with optics, likes, followers, applause. It's a performance now. But purpose doesn't care about performance. It doesn't need an audience to be powerful. In fact, the most powerful moves often happen in silence, in discipline, in the early mornings when no one's watching, in the late nights when you're working, not scrolling. That's where purpose is built, in the quiet. And if you're too focused on being seen, you'll miss the sacred process of becoming. It's easy to fall into the trap of doing what gets attention. But don't confuse visibility with value. Just because the world is clapping doesn't mean you're aligned. And just because it's silent doesn't mean you're off course. Stay grounded. Stay faithful to the work when it's unnoticed. Stay disciplined when it's unpopular. It's about purpose, it's not about popularity. It's about fulfillment. It's about knowing deep down that you're becoming who you were always meant to be, regardless of who sees it. The world will try to pull you in every direction. But if you don't anchor yourself in purpose, you'll drift. And when you drift, you lose direction. Hold the line. Stay focused. The reward isn't in the recognition. It's in the realization of who you're becoming. There will be moments when doubt creeps in, not just from others, but from within. You'll question your path. You'll wonder if you're doing the right thing. That's part of the process. Purpose isn't a straight road. It's filled with turns, detours, and silent seasons. But what matters most in those moments is your ability to stay rooted in your why. Why did you begin this journey? What is the fire that got you started in the first place? That fire is your fuel. Don't let the fog of uncertainty make you forget the flame. People will come and go. Opinions will shift like the wind, but purpose is steady. It doesn't change with trends. It doesn't bow to criticism. It doesn't need validation to be real. And when you walk in that kind of purpose, you develop an inner stillness that no storm can shake. You may stumble, but you won't stop. You may bend because your focus is no longer on pleasing people. It's on fulfilling something far greater than ego. It's about legacy. It's about impact. And when your heart is fixed on that, nothing they say can derail you. Stay committed to that vision. Stay faithful to that fire. Sometimes purpose is lonely. You'll outgrow rooms, relationships, even versions of yourself, and that can be painful. But growth often requires separation. You can't become who you're meant to be by clinging to who you used to be or who others expect you to be. Staying aligned with your purpose means letting go of comfort, of approval, of familiarity. It means trusting the stretch, even when it scares you. Because every great story is written in tension, in the moments when you could have backed down, but you didn't, when you could have played it safe, but you chose to evolve instead. That's where greatness is born, in the discomfort. And if everyone always agrees with your journey, you're probably playing too small. Purpose doesn't need a fan club. It needs your full presence, your full attention, your full faith. Not everyone will cheer for you, and that's okay. Let your growth be your response. Let your consistency speak louder than their commentary. The ones who are meant to walk with you will respect your alignment, even if they don't understand it. And the rest, let them go. Your life is too valuable to be lived under the weight of their opinions. Keep moving. Purpose will demand you become someone new. It will stretch your character, test your discipline, and challenge your identity. But that's the beauty of alignment. It doesn't just give you direction, it gives you transformation. You begin to speak differently, move differently. You stop chasing things that don't serve your soul. You stop needing everyone to get it, because when you're aligned, peace becomes louder than praise. Progress becomes more important than perfection, and presence becomes your power. The world may not celebrate your growth, but you will feel it in your clarity, in your choices, in your confidence. That's how you know you're walking in purpose, when your life starts making sense to you, even if it makes no sense to them. Stay in that space. Don't let temporary confusion make you abandon permanent truth. Don't trade authenticity for approval. The real reward is becoming someone you're proud of when no one's watching. Someone who stayed the course. Someone who didn't fold under pressure. Someone who kept showing up, not for applause, but because purpose demanded it. That kind of strength can't be bought. It's earned. It's built. And it will carry you through every season with a power they'll never be able to explain. There's nothing more liberating than knowing you don't have to be everything to everyone. That you weren't created to fit their mold. You were created to fill your mission. And when you stay aligned with your purpose, you stop competing. You stop comparing. You stop craving acceptance from places that were never meant to hold your value. That's when you become unshakable. Because now your identity isn't attached to the crowd. It's rooted in calling. Your steps aren't dictated by applause. They're directed by assignment. And your worth is no longer up for negotiation. That's the power of alignment. It frees you, it focuses you, it fuels you. Let them talk, let them doubt, let them misunderstand, because when the dust settles, purpose will still be standing. It's not a trend, it's not a phase. It's your foundation, so walk in it with confidence. Own your voice, own your path, own your growth. You didn't come this far to be distracted by their noise. You came to make an impact. And as long as you stay aligned with that, you're exactly where you need to be. Keep building, keep becoming. Let your life speak so loudly in purpose that their opinions sound like whispers in comparison. Forgiveness is powerful, but it's often misunderstood. People think forgiving someone means letting them off the hook completely, like what they did no longer matters. But that's not what true forgiveness is about. Forgiveness is about freeing yourself from the burden of carrying anger, bitterness, or revenge. It's choosing peace over poison. You forgive not because they deserve it, but because you deserve freedom. But just because you forgive doesn't mean you have to forget what happened. Forgetting the lesson is how you end up in the same pain again, repeating cycles that should have ended long ago. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. Let that experience teach you. Let it sharpen your discernment. Let it shape your boundaries. You don't have to keep touching the same fire to remember that it burns. Forgiveness is giving yourself permission to let go of the weight, but the memory, the lesson, that's your armor. That's your wisdom. That's how you grow. Don't hold on to resentment, but don't erase the blueprint that pain left behind. Because in the remembering, there's protection. In the lesson, there's transformation. And in the balance of forgiving and remembering, you find the strength to move forward wiser, not colder. Some people will take your forgiveness as a green light to hurt you again. That's why it's critical not to confuse forgiveness with reconciliation. You can forgive someone and never let them near you again. Forgiveness is for your peace. Reconciliation is earned through change. Too often we feel pressured to go back to people who caused us harm just because we've decided to let the pain go. But healing doesn't require reopening the door. It requires self-respect. When someone shows a pattern of disregard, manipulation, or emotional harm, you're not obligated to offer them access to your life just to prove you've healed. You can forgive from a distance. You can wish someone well and still walk away. That's maturity. That's clarity. And when you remember the lesson, you understand that boundaries aren't barriers, they're protection. Forgiving them doesn't mean pretending it never happened. It means accepting what happened, learning from it, and moving differently next time. That's not bitterness, that's wisdom. And wisdom isn't cold, it's warm protection from repeated harm. It's a deep love for yourself that refuses to let your past control your future. So forgive, but never forget what it taught you about people, about life, and about yourself. The world will tell you that forgetting is a virtue, that it makes you a better person. But in truth, forgetting important lessons can cost you more than the original wound. Some people say if you've really forgiven, you shouldn't even bring it up anymore. But that's not realistic and it's not healthy. You're not required to erase your memory in order to be a good person. Remembering what someone did isn't a sign you're bitter. It's a sign you're awake. Awareness. It's wisdom gained through pain. You remember so that you don't trip over the same cracks. You remember so you can spot the red flags earlier next time. You remember so you can strengthen your boundaries and choose better. Forgiveness doesn't require amnesia. It requires maturity. It takes strength to look at a wound, accept it, and say, this won't define me, but it will educate me. Let it teach you how to recognize manipulation, how to protect your peace, how to listen to your intuition. Let it teach you the signs of betrayal, the importance of silence, and the difference between someone who's sorry and someone who's strategic. You forgive because it's healing. You remember because it's smart. There's something deeply liberating about forgiving someone who never apologized. It's one of the hardest things you'll ever do, but also one of the most freeing. When you choose to forgive without the apology, you take back your power. You no longer wait for someone else to acknowledge the pain before you release it. You decide that your peace is more important than their silence. But even then, don't erase what happened. Forgiveness without remembering turns you into an open target. You become easy to manipulate, easy to repeat history with. That's why forgiveness should always be paired with awareness. Think of your past like a teacher. Some lessons were easy, others were hard. But the ones that hurt the most often carried the biggest growth. If you forget them, you'll have to learn them all over again. And life doesn't mind repeating the lesson until you truly understand it. Forgiveness is the graduation, memory is the diploma. You don't have to walk around bitter or guarded, but you do have to walk around informed. People change, yes, but not always. And sometimes they just get better at hiding the same intentions. Forgive, let go, but keep your eyes open and your spirit grounded. Emotional intelligence is knowing when to forgive, and spiritual maturity is knowing that forgiving doesn't mean giving someone the same access to your life. You can forgive them and never speak to them again. You can release the hurt but keep your distance. That doesn't make you heartless. It makes you wise. The lesson you learned from the pain may have come at a high cost, so why would you throw it away like it meant nothing? Think of the heartbreaks, betrayals, and disappointments you've endured. They weren't in vain. Each one refined your judgment. Each one sculpted a stronger, more self-aware version of you. That's not something to forget. It's something to carry with honor. Not as baggage, but as a compass. You don't have to keep reliving the pain to carry the lesson. There's a big difference between being stuck in the past and simply being informed by it. Let the memory guide your decisions, not harden your heart. Let it teach you who deserves your energy and who's just borrowing your kindness with no intention of respecting it. When you forgive and remember, you rise, not in spite of the pain, but because you allowed it to serve your growth instead of your destruction. People sometimes mistake kindness for weakness and forgiveness for permission. But when you forgive with wisdom, you make it clear that while you've released the bitterness, you haven't abandoned your intelligence. That's the difference between someone who grows and someone who simply moves on. You can move on without ever learning, and that's how you end up in the same situation dressed in new clothes. The world doesn't need more people who blindly forgive and forget. It needs more people who forgive and evolve. You are not obligated to reinsert someone into your life simply because you've healed. Healing isn't an invitation, it's a boundary. It's proof that you've done the work to rise above what happened, but not to repeat it. When you hold on to the lesson, you create a new standard for what you accept, what you tolerate, and what you entertain. That's growth. That's protection. That's love. For yourself, you don't have to be spiteful. You don't have to be cruel, but you do have to be clear. Clear about what you learned, about what you will no longer ignore, and about who gets to walk beside you. Forgive, but take the lesson and let it walk with you. Sometimes the biggest lesson from pain is not about the person who hurt you. It's about you. It's about how you ignored your intuition, how you settled, how you accepted less than you deserved because you were afraid of being alone. That's the real power in remembering. It's not always about remembering what they did. It's about remembering what you allowed and why. That doesn't mean blaming yourself. It means taking responsibility for your growth. When you forget, you risk repeating patterns that once robbed you of your peace. But when you remember with compassion, you evolve. You stop blaming and start rebuilding. You begin to see how your pain became your teacher, how every scar became a survival story. And you don't hide it, you honor it. Because that pain led you back to yourself, back to your worth, back to your standards. That's why forgetting the lesson is never an option. It's how you protect your future. Forgiveness clears the emotional weight. Remembering clears your path. You become intentional, more selective, more self-aware. That's not being bitter, that's being empowered. Forgiveness is the seed, but the lesson is the root. One frees you, the other strengthens you. Don't abandon either. You deserve to move forward, free from grudges, but not blind to the wisdom you earned through the fire. You didn't survive that pain just to act like it never happened. You survived it to become someone who walks with discernment, someone who knows what love isn't, so they can recognize what real love is. Someone who knows what deception looks like, so they can build trust from truth, not naivety. Forgiveness isn't about pretending you were never wounded. It's about showing that the wound didn't break you, it built you. It stretched you. It reshaped your life and your outlook, and now you see with new eyes. That's the gift of memory. So don't let anyone shame you for remembering. You're not holding a grudge. You're holding wisdom. You're not stuck, you're aware. That awareness becomes your strength. It becomes the standard you refuse to drop ever again. It becomes the voice inside you that says, I've been there, I've learned, and I'll never let that lesson go to waste. So yes, forgive, release them, release the pain, but don't release the growth. Don't release the clarity. Keep it, guard it, let it lead you forward with power and peace. That's how you honor everything you've survived. In this journey of forgiveness and healing, we've uncovered a truth that too many overlook. Forgiveness is not forgetting. It's not erasing what happened or pretending it didn't hurt. It's not about excusing the behavior or welcoming the same people back into our lives as if nothing happened. No, forgiveness is a deeply personal decision to release the burden of pain, anger, and resentment, not for them, but for your peace. And yet, as you release the pain, you must hold tight to the lesson. That lesson is your shield. It's what protects your heart the next time someone comes close. It's what helps you walk wiser, stand firmer, and speak softer with stronger boundaries. You are not weak for remembering. You are not bitter for protecting your peace. You are not cruel for refusing to go back to what once broke you. You are strong because you've walked through the fire. And instead of letting it burn you down, you let it forge something stronger within. Forgiveness is your liberation. The memory is your transformation. Together they create a version of you that refuses to shrink back into old patterns. One who now recognizes what alignment, peace, and respect really look like. It's important to give yourself permission to forgive without the need for closure from the other side. They may never say sorry. They may never admit what they did. But your freedom was never dependent on their apology. It was always in your hands. And when you choose to walk forward with a clear mind and a wise heart, you're no longer just surviving, you're evolving. Your past doesn't have to be your prison. It can be your teacher. It can be your reminder that you've come too far, learned too much, and grown too wise to ever go back to what broke you. As you keep walking through life, remember what that pain taught you. Use it to shape your standards, your relationships, and your boundaries. Use it to honor your worth, to keep your circle sacred, and to love yourself deeply. You are no longer the same person who was hurt. You are someone who rose from it, stronger, sharper, and full of clarity. Let that be your strength. Let that be your peace. Thank you for taking the time to reflect, grow, and walk this path of healing and power. May you continue to forgive, to evolve, and to protect the wisdom you've earned. Stay grounded, stay aware, and never forget the lessons that shaped your strength. God bless you, and thank you again for listening.